Oh. Good evening, everyone. So thank you for everyone joining today. I know it's a beautiful day outside, but I want to share with you some lessons I learned around movement building over the next 8 minutes. So today's talk is called A Practical No-Nonsense Guide to Building a Movement. But before I begin, though, you should know a little bit about myself. If you looked at my LinkedIn or Facebook, this is what you would see. On Facebook, you would see an embarrassing photo from college, what teams I root for, and then on LinkedIn, you'll see my professional and educational background. But more personally, if you want to know the core and ethos of who I am, what I'm most fascinated and passionate about is movement building, community organizing. Because the truth is, at an early age, I realized I'm not going to be the smartest person in the room, as in I'm not going to solve different diseases. I'm not the most athletic person, so I won't ever be drafted by the Patriots. I had to find what was my sort of inspiration. And that, over the course of over my lifetime, was around community organizing, therefore movement building. Now, many of you all, when you think of movements, you become nostalgic. You think of the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, environmental rights movements. But the truth is, my success for this presentation is if you can leave tonight saying, I can start a movement. So it's not if I move on to the next round, but please, if you're voting, think about it. But truthfully, it's for you to understand that anyone here can participate and lead and spark their own movement for the vision of what they think the world should be. So movement, it's a series of organized activities working towards an objective, an organized effort to promote or attain an end. So for the first part of this, I'm going to walk you through what I found was the most successful movement in recent times. I assume many of you shop at Market Basket, Market Basket being a supermarket chain here in New England, and this is their CEO, Arthur T. DeMoulis. I'll call him RDT. Now, the interesting thing was that RDT here became a symbol last year around the labor rights movement, right? So how did this corporate executive become a symbol around workers' rights? Well, last June 2014, Arthur was fired amidst a family feud. Yeah, you can Wikipedia the whole family drama, but essentially his cousin RDS fired him, RDT, right? And that was in June 2014. What transpired, though, 2 months later, was that he was reinstated. So let's walk through what happened and what key characteristics can we learn from this specific movement. So the first thing is, Boy Meets World, man. Good. It's friendships first. Movements at its core are based on friendships. So let me ask you, and you don't need to answer this publicly or share this out loud, but if your CEO was fired today, would you protest the next day? Would you risk your salary? Would you quit your job the next day? No one answer, but think about it. What happened was that RDT had friends. His friends were his employees. So the day after he was fired, 300, 400, 500 of his employees protested and rallied around him. Powerful thing, because for them, Artie wasn't their CEO, they were his friends. Now, the second principle, though, is that you can't limit movements to just your friends. The next evolution of any successful movement is to create peer pressure that it expands that your audience is not just about your friends, but everyone else. So what we need to do is convince weak ties to become allies, right? You want to convince the people indirectly involved to become passionate supporters. So in the case for Market Basket, what started off as employees protesting became something much more, a bigger phenomenon that included their customers. Customers saying, I'm okay with my fruits not being in the fruit aisle, and media writing editorials saying, solve this right now. And even for the governors in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, being involved in a business dispute, but saying publicly, this needs to be resolved, right? These people were not directly involved, but because of the pressure that the Market Basket employees created, they had to. The third thing is that you need an inspiring vision, right? Now, for Market Basket, the vision isn't, hey, let's have a supermarket, let's work at a supermarket. For the employees, it was something bigger for them. It was to have and work at a corporation that wasn't just caring about profits, but cared much, much more about their stakeholders, their employees, and their community. For them, Market Basket wasn't a job, but it was their livelihood, where they could start working at 22 and retire at 65, right? So you need to know what you're fighting for. And to clarify, vision isn't something that you build consensus around. Vision is something that is personally important for you that you don't compromise around. Now, the fourth thing is you need measurable goals. And what that means is that movements never end. A very important part to know is that there might be accomplishments, maybe legislation is passed, maybe you had a protest, but at the end of the day, movements should never have an expiration date. They are always forever. They're always something that we should aspire and achieve to. So in this case, for Market Basket, it was very clear and very tangible. We won't go back to work until RDT is back as CEO at Market Basket, right? And what happened was from June 2014 to August 2014, dozens of protests, people boycotting, and at the end of it, RDT was reinstated as CEO of Market Basket. And that became a symbol in a larger movement around labor, right? But the question is, and the amazing thing is that it started off at a supermarket, right? So movements can be spawned and spurred from anything and anywhere. So this relates back to me now. And I want to share you sort of the key characteristics that I learned from these movements and how I incorporated into different initiatives and projects I started last year. One being City Awake. Now, City Awake, our vision is clear. We want to make Boston the social impact capital of the world. I know that might sound trendy or a buzzword, has buzzwords, but at the moment, every city wants to be the next Silicon Valley. Everyone wants to be the next startup capital. But for us, 5-10 years from now, we think every city is going to want to be the impact-driven city, the purpose-driven city. So similar to how there are stories in Silicon Valley where you can walk into a coffee shop and walk out with $1 million for your startup, we want to create a culture of civic engagement so pervasive where you can walk into a coffee shop and walk out with $1 million to feed the hungry, right? That's the culture we want to create here in Boston and exists already, but we just want to organize it for people. So that's the vision. Now, to get there, though, it's not just snapping your fingers, right? What we wanted to do was find a vehicle that allowed us to bring all the different stakeholders together. So what better than a festival, right? And for us, we wanted to do a festival as a way to start positioning Boston as the social impact capital of this country, of this world, and just to also let know people in this community that we have such a vibrant impact economy. Now, the challenge is I never organized the festival. A lot of my friends never organized the festival. And it was late August, and we wanted to host the festival in December. So we had about 4 months of planning. Silly of us. But to follow the sort of the characteristics that I outlined before, it starts with friends. Me as an individual, there is no way I could accomplish anything, right? But at the same time, I was able to convince, and maybe because they just liked me, a dozen friends to join a team to meet every Monday in person for 4 months to plan this festival. In addition, because of our sort of friendship-first philosophy, we needed organizations to participate in our festival, obviously, but where were we going to get them? So our team actually emailed our friends who worked at different organizations, and we found about 100 organizations to participate as our partners because they knew us or they were friends of ours. And the truth is that they shouldn't have because we had no legitimacy and we were just a bunch of volunteers. Thank you for laughing at that. And then something terrific happened, something unexpected happened. We were very happy with 100 partners. It took us a month and a half to get there. But in less than a week and a half, 1 week later, we got up to 200 partners. So imagine that growth, right? And we doubled that amount, just inbound. People started to get interested. And ultimately, we hosted our festival in December. And as Mina mentioned, 99 events, 233 partners, 10,000 attendees, press mentions in every newspaper here, major newspaper in Boston. And my favorite one was a blog post by a freshman in North Carolina. And she wrote, I would give anything, and I didn't pay her anything. She just wrote about it somehow. But she wrote, I would give anything to be in central Boston right now to witness the impactful wave going on at City Awake. A person I had no relationship with, not my family member, a freshman in North Carolina heard about this, and this is where we start changing minds. So because of this vehicle, because of this festival, it allows us to continue to achieve our vision, or hope to achieve a vision, of where we can create a vibrant impact ecosystem in Boston. So I hope today that you learned, that you come out of this saying that anyone can start a movement. You don't have to be a visionary leader. It doesn't hurt. But at the same time, what's important to know is that whether it's that you just want to have more bike lanes in your community, or if you want to create full racial justice equality, anything in between, big or small, national, local, global, you can all do it. And in case you just want to be my friend, that's my information, my email and my Twitter, and me as a sad clown. Thank you guys so much.